There's a couple of quick questions.
Uh-huh.
You was born in Overtown, right?
I was born on 10th Street and 2nd Avenue.
What year this was?
1949, December the 31st.
And how it was back then, as far with black people, like how it was?
Beautiful. Everybody got along.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
See what some people don't know, Julius. And I didn't realize it until I was grown. You had all sorts of nationalities living over town. But they lived over town because they was not accepted in other communities.
So Miami Gardens or Liberty City, y'all couldn't come over here.
Well, people started going to Liberty City in what I think the 50s.
Okay.
And but Overtown was a haven for everybody that was of color, because black people some of them was real light skinned.
Right.
Some of them was medium. Some of them was real dark. Right. They came from everywhere. The guy stayed across from us in the 50s. Right. He was from Haiti. We didn't know that. Right. Who cares?
Right.
We all the same color.
Right.
Some Jamaican people was from Jamaica. We didn't know that. Who cares? We was the same color.
Right.
Some Puerto Ricans was there, sort of red light, you know. And
Puerto Ricans in Overtown?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Where else they gonna stay at that time?
Right.
We was called, I guess the more affluent neighborhoods considered them to be the low class, so to speak.
Right.
But they all stayed in Overtown. Miss Eloise, she was Puerto Rican. Her daughter Sharon and Barbara.
Okay.
They were out Clara and my age. And so the thing of it is we got along. Now, what other people didn't know too is that you had some Cuban people lived in Overtown.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They stayed right there on 9th Street and 7th Avenue. Because the boundaries of Overtown was 5th Street to 22nd Street.
Okay.
From the railroad track to 7th Avenue.
Right.
Yeah.
So like back in the segregation and all that there, y'all had to be like, I heard talks like far as that track, like if y'all get caught over that track, it'd be dangerous.
Well, if you was on the other side of that railroad track and you didn't have, a real reason to be there, you're gonna get stopped.
Right.
And sometimes because of some of the crimes and it was small minor crimes that happened over there, they would stop a black person.
Right.
Now the cops back then on that side of the track was white.
Right.
See, on the east side of the East Coast Railway, they were white.
Right.
On the west side, they was black because they were the cops that took care of the Overtown area.
Right.
And where the precinct was right there at 11th Street and 5th Avenue.
So what year they started like the Bill Expressway over and started to tear it down and everybody started to leave like?
About I believe it was about 1961 they started running it, and then probably I'm thinking by somewhere the mid-60s, that was the end. It was the end because, and it was called urban renewal. They're going to renew everything. They renewed it all right. They crushed the black community.
Right.
See, and people that stayed on this side, because the original plans, they wanted this thing to go was to run along the Bay Area.
Right.
And then, come into different communities. But some down in City Hall railed against that.
Right. They do it all over. They weren't just in Miami. It was all over. But yeah.
Go over there and put it in their neighborhood.
Right. Expressway.
That's what happened. So.
What about all the entertainers? Because then you say like Granddad, he knew Nat King Cole and all that.
I was one of his friends. Nat King Cole. His two daughters.
Yeah.
When Nat was performing on the beach, he couldn't stay on the beach. You had to stay over town.
Right.
And you had
what's the name of some of them clubs back then?
You had the Fiesta Club, which was downstairs in the I got to come back to that one. But on 6th Street, you had the Sir John Hotel.
Okay.
And they
all
had,
black owned, huh?
Yeah, it was the Sir John was, yes. It was the top hotel in Overtown.
Okay, Sir John.
And then where Daddy stayed was called the Mary Elizabeth.
Okay.
That was on 2nd Avenue and 7th Street, right on the corner.
Okay.
The southeast corner of 7th Street.
And the theaters.
And inside the Mary Elizabeth, they had the Fiesta Club downstairs.
Right, okay. What year this is?
This is the 50s, all into the 60s.
Okay.
It came to an abrupt end by 70. It was over with.
Over with?
Basically over with. Then you had, as you come on north on 2nd Avenue, you had the King's Hotel that was across the street from the Mary Elizabeth on the corner of 7th Street and 2nd Avenue.
Okay.
His name was Robert King Sr. I went to school, me and his son was friends, Robert King Jr.
Robert King Jr.
And he owned that whole block. And downstairs you had barbershops, restaurants, and on the corner you had a store called Leonard's Department Store. That was the black, it was like the black Burdines, but on a small scale of Overtown.
What about Jackson? You know, the soul food. All that was back then.
Well, they was over there somewhere, but not like. See, the restaurants over there. And then if you come further north, you had other little small hotels and what have you. And then you had on 9th Street and 3rd Avenue, you had the Carver Hotel. That's where Muhammad Ali lived.
Oh, the Carver Hotel?
Yeah, it's not there anymore. It was right across the street almost, diagonally from Zion's Baptist Church.
Okay.
And then Muhammad Ali stayed there. Now that was the third that was the third classiest hotel,
right,
but on a smaller scale. And the bellman had on the hat,
right,
the bell outfit with the vest,
right,
the shoes and everything, dressed for the occasion.
Did Malcolm X come down here or something?
He came over there, but see, the best hotels was on the south end of Overtown, and that's where we live.
Okay, south end.
And then as you come down 2nd Avenue, you had the Rockland Palace.
Okay.
And you had the Reno Bar. Okay. The Reno Bar was like if you walked into a bar back in the 1800s.
Right.
They ain't had no tables. You just go up to the thing and, give me a beer, give me a drink. Everybody stand up and, and that was a rowdy bar. That's why people, get fired up going, they start fights and here comes somebody flying out the door. That was that type of bar.
Okay, so hold on. So what high school y'all went to?
We went to Booker T. Washington.
So Northwestern went around?
Northwestern was around, but that was for Liberty City. See, we was in Overtown. Overtown had everything. They had their own high school. They had their own elementary schools, two of them. They had Phyllis Sweetley. That's where we went.
But Northwestern was a black school too, though,
It was a black school. That came after Booker T.
Okay, that came after.
See, Liberty City had Dorsey.
Had Dorsey, right.
That's where people went and they graduated from. But then eventually they had to put a bigger school. So Northwestern came into existence somewhere in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Late 50s, early, somewhere, I believe somewhere in the 50s. So Overtown, they also had a nightclub called the Island Club.
The Island Club.
Clyde Killens owned the Island Club. I knew him well. Clean, always dressed up, a businessman. He was the one brought all the stars into Overtown.
Clyde, say his name again?
Clyde Killens.
Clyde Killens. He the one bring all the stars.
That's right.
Like back in the 50s.
Look him up.
Clyde Killens, okay.
50s, 60s, and it used to be called the Island Club because most people don't know it. Overtown had a large population of Bahamians.
Okay.
I mean, that's who built them causeways and stuff. Going to the MacArthur Causeway, the Rickerback. They had their hands in that stuff, and they used to get recognition for it. They don't even talk about that no more.
So recognition to the Bahamians for helping building them, expressways. So I'm going to end this here, but I just want to say how old years again?
71.
71. All right, I'm going to do a part two.
Yeah, so I just, it's a lot of